So good morning, now we're recording. So yes, today's class is going to be on hip flexors and concentration beyond just our scattered minds, because now we're integrated in this world of constant change and Facebook and ads and commercials, that our long-term focus is probably not as strong as it could be. So we're going to start today on our backs. So go ahead and come onto your back. And videos can be on or off. It's up to you. Yeah, if you want to fix your cameras, for those of you joining live, that would be terrific. So I can see you sideways, preferably. Okay, and as you lay here on your back and just kind of settle into the practice, get comfortable. And I'd like you to bring your attention to the tip of your nose. And we're just going to experiment. If you can follow your breath for 10 cycles of breath, feeling the inhale come in through the tips of your nose and the exhale come out through the tips, through the nostrils, just for 10. And let's check in with your ability to focus. How many breaths can you stay tethered to this concentration point? A few more moments, take your time. And then keep that number you were able to stay concentrated on or focused with. Set it to the side with that determination that you just created. But also now I'd like you to bring in some self-encouragement. So with meditation, with yoga, they say the tip of the iceberg is often all we really get to see or touch when we practice. But what's really important is what you cannot see, that's below the surface. And the stuff that is below the surface that you cannot see, or I would not really see, but even know about, is a safety net. And in the physical body, that safety area, that feeling of security, gets thrown off a lot right in the middle of our bodies, because that's our strongest point. So I'd like you to feel a connection with the middle of your body. Bring your knees into your chest. Okay, good. And so with those of you with the cameras on, everybody reached with their hands, okay? Bring your feet back down, keep the knees bent. Bring your hands by the floor. Okay, that might have been just a jerk reaction, because when you say bring your knees into the chest, most of us do it with our hands in a regular class. Now I'd like you to do it again and bring your knees into the chest with only the hip flexors. Only the hip flexors. Yeah, knees into the chest again. There you go. All right, and then see the difference here. Your hip flexors feel a little turned on. Now I'd like you to get the feet as high as the knees, if they're not already. Deb, you were fine. Yeah. There you go. So now they feel a little bit more turned on. Okay, now relax the shoulders. Give yourself some encouragement. Keep the right knee as it is. Extend the left leg out in front of you to a hover, about 4 inches. Good. Yeah, there you go, Janet. Keep it there. Good. Flex both toes towards you. Good. Now bring both knees into your chest. Good. Very good determination, you guys. Switch sides. Left knee stays in, right leg hovers out forward. Feel the strength in your hip flexors of the left side. Feel the quadriceps turn on the right. Good. Inhale, bring both knees into the chest. Good. Exhale, both feet down to the floor. Good. Go ahead, keep your shoulders soft. Again, you would have noticed, if a lot of you hadn't, that your traps kind of lifted a little bit So the shoulders went as high as the ears. And that's that thing of security. Can I do it? I don't want to fail, right? You may have noticed that. Okay, now I'd like you to keep the hands down by the hips, lift the hips up and off of the ground, kind of like a mini bridge pose. Hips up and off the ground. Yep. And then press into the heels, lift the chest up towards the chin. Good. Okay, now just feel the strength of your hip flexors. You've got a nice, strong, narrow line between the spine all the way up to the tailbone. And then slowly release one bone down at a time, the best that you can to come all the way down. Good. Okay, now with the palms staying down on the mat, lift the knees to the chest. Lift the head and shoulders up towards the hip flexors and stay here. Good. Extend the right leg out. Keep the left knee in. There you go. And now switch. Keep the head up. Good. There you go. Both knees in again. Upper back down, head down. Good. Okay, now we're going to lift the arms up to a hover. Yep, wherever you'd like. Lift the head, the chest up towards the legs. Really turning on those hip flexors again. Good. Okay, that's not so bad, right? Now lift the arms up towards the ceiling, over by the ears. Good. And feel the hip flexors really work. Good. Okay, now release the arms down by the floor. Release the feet down to the ground. Release the upper back and head. Okay, last one. I'd like you to lift your hands up over your head. Palms facing the ceiling or wherever you're practicing if it's outside. Let's lift the hips up again for a bridge, one bone at a time, paying attention to the details. So instead of rushing through the steps this time, come back down. I want you to feel one bone at a time come down. Now I want you to feel one bone at a time come up. Feel what you're doing. Yeah, feel what you're doing. There, much better. Good. There you go. Okay, feel those hip flexors turned on. Feel how strong that they can be. Good. Now go ahead and release one bone down at a time. Janet, release your arms if you don't have shoulder issues behind your head on the floor. There you go. All right. Okay, bring the knees in towards your chest. Turn your hip flexors on again. Keep your arms where they are. Good. Okay, now we're going to lift up again the belly towards the hip flexors. The arms are going to come up with the head and the shoulders. Good. Hold here and just breathe. Good. Hold here and just breathe. The arms are extended over the back. Yep. And just feel how strong your hip flexors, your core, the center of your body is. And then release feet down, hands down, shoulders and head. Good. Go ahead now, lift the feet up. Open the arms up like a T, palms to the ceiling. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Keep your feet even with your knees. Extend them slightly further forward than you think that they should be to turn on the lower belly. And then lower the knees over to the right about 4 inches, just 4 inches. Extend the legs out straight. Flex the toes towards the knees. Good. Rebend them. Lower down the hips and the tailbone. Send the knees 4 inches over to the other side. Slowly extend the legs straight. Feel your belly turning on, your hip flexors turning on, your psoas muscles. Rebend the knees, please. Bring them back to center. Hands behind your thighs. Roll up to seated. Tabletop. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. So if you know that the knees are sensitive today, go ahead and roll your mat. If your ankles are sensitive today as well, make do with not all of the cues that I give you so that your ankles don't get too much. Okay, so hands under shoulders, knees under hips. I want you to tuck the toes in so that the underneath of your feet are touching the mat. And I want you to lift up just the right knee off the ground, just the right knee. And then I want you to feel like you're doing a crunch. If you were still on your back, create that same feeling of crunching your hip flexors and your core towards one another. And then release the right knee. Do the same with the left knee. Hover the left knee. Pretend like you're doing a crunch. Feel your lower abdominal wall turn on. And then release. Now, if that was okay, you can only do that, stick with that. Otherwise, I want you to lift up both knees to a hover and pretend like you're doing a crunch. So you're kind of bringing your abdomen towards your hip flexors towards your abdomen. And it's like you're almost about to take off here. Good. And then lifting up really high on the balls of your feet. Then heels come down, downward dog. Just for a second. Lower back down to the knees, tabletop. Send the hips back towards the heels. Extended child's pose, which means forehead down, elbows up, fingertips of all 10 fingers on the mat. Okay, I want you to just settle into the hip flexors. If your knees are more comfortable spread apart, I'd like you to bring them together. If they're more comfortable together, then bring them apart. So I want you to do the opposite of what actually feels easy, because more than likely it has to do with your pattern of posture. Okay, so you're here in this extended child pose. Your elbows are up, your forehead is down. I want you to feel that connection again to the tip of the nose, the inhale through both nostrils, the exhale through both nostrils. The inhale again. Get yourself grounded. The exhale again. Just one more. Good. Lift up to tabletop. Separate the feet. Lift up the knees. And extend back, downward dog. Good. The inhale, lower down the knees. The exhale, extended child's pose. The inhale is tabletop. The exhale, knees hover, downward dog. 2 more times, just like this, just warming up the body. Inhale, tabletop. Mindfully moving. Exhale, extended child's pose. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, mindfully, let the hips lead, downward dog. Now pause in downward dog. Pause in downward dog, and are your hip flexors working? How do you know? Well, turn your legs on. Hug the muscles of your legs. Lift your tailbone. Don't dump into your arms. You should feel equal work in your feet as you do in your hands, okay? Try to find that. It's not an easy mission, and sometimes I doubt that it's even possible, but just have that intention in the body to go beyond just the surface or that tip of the iceberg. From here, I'd like you to bring the right knee into the chest. Turn on that right hip flexor. Feel that hip nice and high, and then send the right leg down. Bring the left knee into the chest. Really work. Feel that crunch even here, as if we did on our backs moments ago. And then left leg back. Shift forward to a plank, and if you can see yourself in your camera, I want you to keep your hips kind of high here. So I don't want any sagging planks. I want you to keep your hips a little bit more encouraged, or I should say higher than you think that they should be, because I want you to stay in that as we move through this flow. Release the knees, tabletop. Exhaling, extended child's pose. Inhale, tabletop to downward dog. Exhale, that mindful movement of the hips projecting. Good. Turn on those hip flexors again. Shift forward into that plank with the butt up, right? Your hip flexors engaged. Right knee into the chest. Give me more hip flexors. Like really crunch it in. Yeah. Then place that right foot outside the right hand. Lower the left knee down. Hands right underneath the shoulders. Extend the spine forward. Pull the navel in. Feel the left hip flexor stretching out. Now I want you to turn the right toes outward on its side towards the right corner of your mat. Yeah. And I want you to actually open up the bottom of the foot. So the bottom of the right foot is now showing. And the right outer thigh is turning on. Yeah. And then I want you to squeeze that right inner thigh towards the right arm. Good. And then keep doing that. So abductor, right? Rolling onto the edge of the foot. And then adductor, squeeze. Okay, we're gonna do that 2 more times. Open it up, back is straight. And then squeeze. Last one, abductors or outer thigh work. Inner thigh work, adductors. Okay, now hold in this adductor. The right foot is now flat. I'd like you to really get the spine as straight as you can. Keep squeezing the right knee in. Keep pressing through the bottom of the left foot and on the bottom of the right foot. And feel a little bit of heat turning on now. From here, I want you to see if you can lift the left hand up without losing the connection of the right inner thigh to the right shoulder. Left hand up. Yeah, it's hard. For some of you it's not. Yeah, good. Feel that heat. Nice. And then bring that right hand down. Good. Go ahead and lift all the way back, downward dog. Move through your hips. Move through your hips. Good. This is your inhale. Your exhale is tabletop. Good. Inhale, pause. Your exhale is extended child's pose. Good. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, downward dog. Make your way. Good. Your inhale is going to be a plank with your hip flexors a little higher. Yep. Exhale, left knee into the chest. Hold. Yeah. And crunch. Crunch those hip flexors on. Turn on that safety net, that strength. Hold it longer than you think. Try not to get trapped in your ears with your shoulders. Left foot outside left hand. Turn your left foot to the left corner of your yoga mat. Right knee comes down. And in this one, you can bring the right knee back a little bit, or you can stay close. Left toes open up to that side, and we're going to go with abductor, adductor, right? So open up the inner thigh, come into the outer edge of the left foot, and then adductor, squeeze that left inner thigh to the arm, and don't let go. Good. Inhale. Open up. Good. Exhale, adduct. Determination. Good. One more time. Open. And inner thigh, squeeze. Okay, now we're going to hold here. I want you to hold here with your back straight, your chin slightly pulled in, and feel the inner thighs active. The left toes should be turned out slightly, and we want that left hip flexor turned on. Good. Do not lose connection. Try to lift up your right hand. And it doesn't have to go high. This is just experimental. Good. Just seeing if we're balanced, right? We're finding that balance between determination and self-encouragement. Release the right hand down. Make your way back into downward dog. So we've danced this fine line of exerting too much, self-encouragement, tip of the iceberg, and then going too deep, right? We have to try to work through this balance of feeling safe again, no longer trying to just survive, but appreciating the steps. Okay, here we go. Take an inhale here. Exhale. Focus on the tip of the nose. Inhale, feel the breath. Exhale, smooth breath. One more time for accuracy. Lift the right leg up to the sky. Good. Right knee into the chest for that half plank. Good. Right foot in between your hands, lower the left knee down. Inhale, lift up the arms. Feel the right foot pressing into the ground for a low lunge. Yes. Exhale, bring the hands down. Make your way back for a plank with your hips up. Exhale, downward dog. Good. Okay, again for accuracy, 3 breaths. In through the nose, out through the nose. For balance, in through the nose, and out through the nose. One more time. Good. Left leg up to the sky. Left hip flexor turned on to the chest. Round, come high on the ball of the right foot. Left foot in between your hands. Right knee comes down. Inhale, lift the arms. Good. Exhale, bring the hands down. Come back into plank. First, knees down, chest, chin. Baby cobra, pause. Pause and breathe. Feel your hip flexors making contact with the mat. Feel your inner thighs working, and you'll know so if your heels are looking towards each other or if they're splaying out. Good. Make your way back, downward dog from the hips. Nice and strong from the hips. Feel that knee hovering, and then, good, the legs extend out. The legs extend out pretty much right before the head releases backwards. Good. Lift the right leg up to the sky. Come into that crunch. You know what? Let's go back to that. Janet, is it your left ankle that's messed up? I can't remember. The other one? It is the left. Okay, I'm going to shut up then. Come back to downward dog, my bad. Right leg up to the sky, but then pause. I want you to square your hips as long as your ankles feel good. That means your right hip flexor isn't splaying out and leaking energy. That right hip is hugging in. Right knee into the chest again for that crunch. Good. Feel strong here. Right foot in between the hands. Pause. Okay. Squeeze the right inner thigh. Adduct. Yes. Feel the change here. Lifting up with this adduction on the right thigh, crescent lunge. All the way high. Good. Can your hip flexor stay on, or do you dump weight, right? So we're losing some energy because we no longer have our hands on the floor, but can you still feel grounded? Excellent. Go ahead and lower down plank. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga to up dog. It's one or the two, right? You pick on your energy. Good. Stay connected to the inner thighs, downward dog. However you'd like to get there. Good. Okay, take your time. Inhale through the nostrils. That's just the body is just the surface. The breath is below the surface, right? So we get deeper. One more. Good. Left leg's going up to the sky. Good. Keep the left hip hugging inward. Don't leak out, abducting. We want adducting. Left knee into the chest. Good. Feel that connection. Feel that safety, that control. Left foot down in between your hands, slowly and mindfully. Left inner thigh working hard. Right heel's working, reaching back. Good. Keep your hip flexors centered. Lift the arms all the way up, crescent lunge. Nice and slow. And if you need to bring that back heel down, Janet, that would be helpful for your ankles, by the way. If you wanted to stay in crescent, good. Okay, now it looks like some ribs are drawing down. I want you to pull the ribs down and in. Down and there you go. Good, Jess. Down and in. Don't leak energy. Make your way down to plank. With the hips not sagging, keep connected. Yeah, good. Now chaturanga or belly flat down, cobra or up dog, depending if you're going through chaturanga. Get those shoulders a little bit back, more deb, and then downward dog. Good. So the legs can't possibly be so stiff as you go from chaturanga, up dog to down dog. So give yourself a little bit more encouragement here. Don't be so stiff in the body. Loosen it up. In fact, go ahead and move your hips a little bit. Circle them. Do whatever you need to bring in that fluidity. If you need to lower the knees down, that's okay too. Give the wrists a break. Good. Okay, and then from here, I'd like you to lower down to your knees. And then exhale, extended child's pose. Everybody release the hips back. Fingertips are forward and up like little octopus hands. Good. Forehead down. Give the wrist a little bit of a break. Good. And then release the elbows. Release the palms flat. And feel that connection a little bit deeper. Feel that connection. Yep. Circle out the wrists. Feel that connection though in those hip flexors that work really hard. But sometimes we lose that connection because we move too quickly through these vinyasa sequences that we no longer are moving mindfully, which is the whole point of this yoga, this meditation, is to move with pause. Okay, here we go. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, mindfully, downward dog. 3 mindful breaths in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils to build balance. To change the dialogue inside of your body, inside of your mind, of words of softening, but with resilience, right? With grit, but with compassion. Okay, right leg goes up to the sky, internal rotation. Right foot goes outside the right hand, passing through the hips, stay strong. Outside the right hand, left knee stays up. Squeeze the right knee into the right shoulder, pausing, keeping the left heel active. With the left knee up, see if you can just hover the left hand by squeezing the hip flexors together here, belly is tight. Left palm is just hovering here. The right knee is hugging my shoulder. Good. And then bring the left hand down. Turn the right toe out completely to the right side of your mat. Lift the right arm up. Big hip flexor rise and lift here. Right leg lifts up, hovering over the left side plank. Big hip flexor lift here. It's almost like I've got a triangle going on here. And I want you to think at full wheel pose because we do the same thing in full wheel. Good. Bring the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Bring the right hand inside the right foot. Send the left foot outside the left hand. Keep your hip flexors high. Don't sag right into a low malasana. Lift the hips high. Good. Lift the arms up, get into the spine. I want your hips even with your knees, not too below. Just stay here. Lift your heels up. Hold here. Lift your spine higher. Good. Feel your inner thighs active. Good. Heels down, hands down. Option to just knees coming to the triceps or coming up for a crow. Hips go up first. Feet come up towards the hips and hold here. Fair balance. And for 3 breaths, in through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose on your option. Good. The feet come back down. The hands come back under the shoulders. Step back with the right leg, left leg plank. Knees down, chest, chin, or chaturanga with your hips active. We don't want any sagging spines. Then it's your up dog, and then downward dog. Make your way. So I want you to pay attention to that transition as we come into the other side in your sun salutation or in your vinyasa. Does your lower back collapse and the hip flexors get lost? The body and the mind no longer integrated as you flow, okay? Just think back for 2 seconds. Okay, lower down knees. Extended child's pose. Take it off the wrists. Good. Inhale back up to tabletop and then downward dog. Good. Okay, we're gonna lift the left leg up to the sky. Bring the left knee into the chest. Hold it. Feel the strength, what it's like to turn on. Left foot outside left hand. Right knee stays up. Yes, lengthen the spine. Good. Left hand stays down. On the inside of the left thigh, hover the right palm off the ground. Good. Nice. Work for that. Very good. Determination there, but softening. Good. Right hand comes back down. Good. Right foot outside right hand. Lift the hips up. Lift the spine and hands up. Hold. Belly tight. Send the hips back a lot more than you think that it should be. Think of your plank with your hips high, right? That activation, you feel something, your psoas muscles, your quadriceps turning on. Good. Then hands come back down to the floor. I forgot the heel lift. If you want to do that quickly, please go for it. And then make your heels come down. Bring your knees towards your triceps, inner thighs, abductors, right? Hips up, feet up, crow or crane. But I want you to lift those feet to work the hip flexors, just like we did on our spines. 3 breaths, in and out. Good. The feet come back down slowly, integrated. Good. I'd like you to step back now with the right leg, the left leg. Keep your hips higher than you think that they should be. I almost missed one. Left foot halfway forward. Turn the left toes out to the side, side plank. Get your hips up, lift your left arm up. So if this is enough to keep your left hip flexor on, we're going to pause here. Otherwise, left leg hovers over the right leg, side plank. Work that triangle shape that you're creating underneath the right hip flexor. Good. Now left foot comes forward between the hands. Yes, now plank. Okay, now encourage those hip flexors to stay on. Chaturanga, don't release it yet, right? Find that balance. Then up dog with your hip flexors and adductors turned on, and then downward dog. There should be just a little bit more heat, a little bit more focus. And in yoga, it's not always these big explosive things we learn. It's these tiny things that are like, oh, now I got that. Oh, maybe that's why that pose isn't coming to me. Good, knees down, extended child's pose. Tabletop, move from the hips, downward dog. Good. Right leg up to the sky. Right knee into the chest with hip flexor strength. Right foot outside right hand. Good. Spine straight, hip flexors to down, left palm hovers. Left palm down. Bend the elbows. Shift the weight forward so the left heel is kind of moving forward. And then pull the right foot up. See what happens. If not, just stay down. Good. Bring the right foot back down. Turn the toes all to the right. Lift the right hand up again. Side plank up again. Create that little star. Right foot down to the side, outside the mat. Hip flexors lift up. Butt squeezes. Walk towards your hips without moving your left hand. Lift higher. Good. Come all the way back to tabletop to the floor. Good. Extended child's pose. To tabletop, to downward dog. For 3 breaths. Left leg goes up to the sky. Left knee or hip flexor comes in towards the chest. Lift the hips. Left foot outside left hand. Extend the spine. Adductors turned on. Inner thighs, high inner thighs active. Right palm hovers, find your strength. Possible arm balance here. Bend the elbows, left foot up. Left thigh resting on left tricep. Here's your arm balance. Right leg comes up or stay where you are. Left foot comes right back down to the floor. Turn all 10 toes to the left. Side plank, adjust the left foot back a little. Left arm goes up. Left leg goes up. Lift through the hips, turn it on. Left foot outside of the mat. Flipping your dog. Right knee bends. Lift the hips. Walk the feet closer towards the hips. Lift higher. Inner thighs active. Good. Left hand down, tabletop. Make your way down. Extended child's pose. Yep. Tabletop to downward dog. From downward dog, take 3 breaths. Moving your upper shoulders away from your chest. Keeping this strength in the midline. Shift forward to regular plank with your hips strong though. Yep. Knees, chest down, or chaturanga, mindfully. Keep those hips high. Nice, Jess. Shoulders back. Yeah. And then I'd like you to go back downward dog last time. Good. Just feel your practice. Okay, lift your gaze to the top of your mat. Bend through the knees a little. Step, walk, whatever you want to the top. Lengthening at the top. And then forward folding and just hanging over the lower body in a nice deep forward fold. Good. Just let it go. Okay, from here, I'd like you to connect your big toes together. The heels are apart. Lower your hips slightly. Pull your navel in. Good. See if there is a slight connection right in these hip flexors. It actually is going to become a bigger one. From here, kind of activate your glutes. Lift up chair pose. So big inner thigh work here. Lift up chair. And then I want you to play with your hips mobility here. So I'd like you to lift your tailbone up in chair pose and then tuck your tailbone down. And to see which one is more supportive in your body. So tuck, roll, and see which one is more grounding, more supportive, more self-encouraging. So those are both viable options here. Those are both chair pose. Hands to the heart. Twist to the right, left elbow outside hip. Okay, and then I want you to check out your knees. Are the hips still in line like we've been practicing? Are the hips the groundwork in this posture, in this chair pose? If they're not, you know the steps to find it. And then lift all the way back up to your chair of choice. Find your hip flexors. One more time, twisting to the left. Get those hips even. Pull the left hip to the right slightly more than you think it should be to engage the left inner thighs. Thumbs to the center of the heart to open up the chest and the upper back. One more time up to chair pose of choice. Step back the left leg crescent lunge, all hip flexor work. Pull the belly in by pulling the ribs down. Good. Left heel down, warrior 2. Okay, now I want you to roll the right booty out, like stick it out, like you're trying to be sassy. Yep. And now I want you to roll the right butt under. Feel the difference and play with that, right? So feel that bump sticking out to rolling it under. And feel how that makes the right inner thigh active, the right hip flexor turn on, and then open up the arms. Good. Perfect. Feel the hips integrated, that rolling under. There should be an external rotation in the right hip and the left hip. Good. And then make your way down, right hand and left hand. Cartwheel it. Plank. Strong hips, Chaturanga. Strong hips, your up dog. Yep. And then downward dog. 3 balancing breaths. And then I want you to elephant walk to the top of the mat, which means the legs stay straight. Heels walking, knees don't bend, the best that you can. You lengthen at the top of the mat, and then you forward fold again. Good. We're gonna come up for the first mountain pose. So I want you to feel your hips being the movement here. Lift all the way up, mountain pose. Feel your hips still integrated though, don't lose it. And then hands at the heart center. Make a choice here of moving from the middle of the body, not from extreme, bottom of the feet, or top of the head. Move, make choices from the midline. Bend the knees, come into chair. Play with that focus. Twist to the right. Keep your hips centered. Yep. Big open arms again, chair. Twist to the left. Elbow outside hip. Play with your posture. Coming right back up to chair. Lift up both heels, hold. Keep the heels right over the balls of your feet. Lift higher, tuck in. Good. Chair, heels come down. Right leg goes back, crescent, stay connected. Shoulders relax, inner thighs. Right heel down, arms open up, warrior 2. Get sassy with the left tush, stick it out. Roll it under, forward towards the left ankle. Feel the external rotation of both hips, and then grow tall through your spine, warrior 2. This active rolling of the hip, the left hip flexor, right, is what makes warrior 2 more of just a resting pose. It's a pose to learn about the deeper muscles, the deeper patterns of the body. Good. Left hand comes down, right hand comes down. Keep your hips high. Plank. Chaturanga with the hips still active in Chaturanga. Up dog. And then downward dog. Good. I'd like you to bring the right knee into the chest right away. Hold it here, nice and high. Nice and high. Good. Right shin comes behind the 2 wrists. Left knee comes down. Right hip to the ground. Roll right on down to it. Walk your hands closer to the right shin. Feel the easy external rotation of the right hip here with the right hip flexor with the right booty down. But now I want you to work on an internal rotation of the left leg. So typically the inner left thigh, right? It's easy to do it this way. But now with the right hip down, right knee down, it's going to be even easier to internally rotate it. So walk that left knee back to the right a little bit more, get it right behind the left hip. Kind of creep it there. Then roll that left hip flexor to internal rotation. And notice the chain reaction to the right hip flexor. The chain reaction to the midline. When you move from the extremities of the body to come to center, things feel a little different. So you've got this nice deep external rotation on the right, internal rotation on the left. If you're still okay, bring the right shin horizontal to the front of the mat and see what that does to the center of your body. If you're still okay, if you've got room to go, you can bring your elbows down. If you cannot easily, without pain, bring the right elbow down, don't. Just stay there. If you're feeling something deep in the right hip flexor, that's enough. That's all we want. Good. So this is a pose I've always struggled with, believe it or not, right? Well, one of them. Because I don't have deep external rotation of my hips, I kind of lose energy in this midline area. And I know that's true beyond just this pose. Because I want to do so good. I've got so much grit that I don't take the steps to just appreciate where I'm at, right? Just see if you fit that one or if you have your own pattern you're working with here. Good. And now play with your arms. Maybe walk your arms to the left, feeling that right hip flexor kind of give a little bit. And then take 3 mindful breaths in through the nostrils, out through the nostrils. Feel how that right hip is hard to strengthen. Walk the hands through the midline. Lift the right hip up and off of the ground. Lift the left knee up. Move from your hips, lift. Right foot outside right hand. Hips still strong. Yep. Lengthen through the body, the spine, belly tight. Connect the right inner thigh to the arm. Good. Step left foot outside left hand and come into your Navasana. Pull your hips forward, ground your tailbone down, not up. We want it rolling forward to where you roll your strength of your feet to the outer edge of your feet more than the inner edge. You're going to feel like you collapse into the heels. Try not to. If you need to keep your hands behind your hips, that's okay. But try to play with something in your hip flexors that you don't normally feel in Navasana. Okay, and then see if you can bring your elbows forward to the inner thighs and hold here for 3 balanced breaths. Feel that bone, that tailbone. Then see if you can notice any patterns of the spine, lifting one vertebrae up, growing taller. Finding balance on the feet. Good. And then slowly bring the hands back down in front of your legs. Step both feet back for a plank. Lift the hips up, downward dog. Switching sides now. Lift the left leg into the belly or hip flexor here, holding. Left shin comes horizontal to the front of the mat. Right leg shifts back on top of the right toe. Lower the left hip down to the floor. Good. Right knee, or right inner thigh, I should say, right, rolls under. Try to encourage that right hip to internally rotate. Left hip, keep it grounded. If it starts to lift, you're going too far. Belly still in to support the low back here because there's a lot happening in the low back. Square your body to the front. Adjust the left shin to support your body. Maybe the right elbow comes down. Maybe the left elbow comes down. If it doesn't, that's okay. And stay there. Stay there to feel the left hip breaking patterns. Patterns of unsteadiness, or that you can't do it, or it's too much. It's just right. Wherever you are is just right. It's just right. Good. And then you're going to walk your arms over to the right corner of your mat. And let that left hip take a break. Let the breath correspond to the needs of your body, to the needs of your mind, more importantly, what lies below the surface of the iceberg. Good. Walk your hands back through center. Walk the hands back, closer under the shoulders. Plant the palms down. Lift the right knee up. Turn your hip flexors on by kind of lifting through the tailbone. Plank, left leg back. Last Chaturanga. Come down with the hips on, so you almost dropped it there. Up dog. And then child's pose. Any version of child's pose that you choose to take. If your eyes aren't closed, you're invited to close the eyes. And just take this calmer moment to make space for yourself to settle. To take assessment of your energy management. To appreciate the nature of your body wherever it is. To lay comfortable on your shins, comfortable on the skin of your body, compassionate for the work that you return to every day. And just resting easy, safely. Good. Go ahead and come onto your hips. Take a seat. And come into diamond pose or bakasana. Okay, and then I want you to take up the shape in your pelvic that you just took in that last malasana. Okay, so if you recall, some of us, our natural pattern is our tailbone starts to curl under in the back, right? I want you to see if you can curl the tailbone forward. So I guess there is no curling. It's a scooping it forward, right? Scoop it forward, and then see if you can walk the bones of your glutes, your sit bones, up, and then pull the curl back, or the scoop back. Okay, it's hard. You feel maybe like you're leaning back. There's something deep happening in your groin. Okay, feel a pattern here of that external rotation in this version of this pose. Okay, then see if you can open up the arms like a T and hold here. Press your feet together. Yep. See if the legs are shaking or not. What is it telling you? Close your eyes. And then dig into this. Dig into this tailbone, kind of scooping the body hollow, the ribs hollow. What is it telling you? And then lift the feet up. Boat pose, Navasana. And is your belly touching your quads? Is your belly touching your quads? If it's not, for a moment, grab your legs, make them come in. Lengthen your spine, squeeze your inner thighs together. Okay, here's your another shape. Here's chair pose. Okay, open up the arms again, stay high. Lift the legs without leaning back. Oops. Yeah, lift the legs without leaning back. If you can't, stay here with the connection. It's our hip flexors and core. Our spine should feel nothing here. Or if something very little, hold. Good. Come back into that diamond pose. Walk your bones forward. Press your feet together. Lift up your hands. Work that uncomfortable position with breath. Inhale, exhale. And then one more Navasana. Making a connection here to that strength, that midline, moving from center. Legs up, stay high. Feet internally rotating. You can even exaggerate it by opening up the heels. And then feet down to the floor, hands behind your legs, walk your spine down. Good. Take a moment here to just easily let it go, transition into the next pose, let the knees go left and right. And then feel that natural curve in the spine with the feet just on the ground under the knees. Just pause for a second. Relax the shoulders. Good. Okay, so we're gonna have two options here for a back bend, but I want you to move from your hips. So the first option is going to be bridge pose, moving from your hips, hands reach for the ankles, or full wheel pose. So just kind of come into it with everything you've learned about your body in this practice. Keep your inner thighs squeezing in. Walk your feet closer towards your shoulders. Jess, if you're in full wheel. Yep. Keep sending the chest towards the couch behind you. Let your head relax. Yep. Keep your knees squeezing together. Deb, keep reaching backwards towards your hands instead of forward. You're losing your hip flexors and upper back. So the strength really comes from the hip flexors right here. It's going to your low back more. Janet, I can't see you, so just work through it. So Deb, if you noticed your weight, you felt that in your low back, yeah. So I'm not the best at these, but Jess, yours is probably better. So most people do this, right? It's kind of here. Look at my weight in comparison. Like my palms aren't flat like this. You want your knees together, shift backwards. Feet together, walk towards your body. I can't even see, but more like that. Then weight forward into your knees and low back. If that helps at all. Yeah, so you're really lifting your heart up, your collarbones up. Yeah, and then when you're done, take your time. Just experiment with it. Everyone's like, I'm done. Go ahead and let it all go. Yeah. Okay, bring your knees into your chest one more time. Knees into your chest. And notice when you get tired, we go right back to that old pattern. That's okay. Just notice. Not everybody, just once in a while you do. It's hard work to stay freaking focused, isn't it? Okay, bring your arms down by your sides, palms down. Extend your legs straight up to the ceiling. Good. Feel that connection in your hip flexors, the pockets of awareness. I like that. Pockets of awareness. That's what we're going to call this class. And come into shoulder stand if that's in your practice. This is the inversion. So really work for your hands to start at the hip flexors to encourage them to lift higher. Then walk those hands closer towards the shoulders. Yeah, keep going. And then try to keep your elbows kind of encouraged inward instead of flaying out to the sides. Yeah. So I've seen this one with the toes pointed towards up or towards the knees. It's whatever feels good for you. As long as your hip flexors feel turned on, as long as your inner thighs feel turned on, and as long as your chest is moving towards your chin, shoulder stand or regular legs up, it doesn't matter. Whatever feels good. What does matter is that whatever you're doing matters for you. So when I say it doesn't matter, it does matter, but what doesn't matter is what I ask you to do. What matters is what you're feeling inside to create and to pull that intention from the practice to the rest of your day. Great. Good plow pose here, Jess. Good. That hip flexor still turned on. Good. And then when you're ready to release, slowly come down, happy baby. Grab the outsides of the feet. Last pose to really feel that awareness of the hip flexor. So happy baby, you're grabbing the outsides of the feet. Your tailbone is what keeps your hip flexors grounded. Otherwise, it just rolls up and you're kind of just uncomfortable rolling on your upper back. Your tailbone grounds your sit bones, your hip flexors. Your shoulders relax. And now I'd like you to take 3 more breaths consciously through the tips of the nostrils and out. With abundance of breath, abundance of mobility. And then when you're ready to release down, let it all go, Shavasana. If there's anything you'd like to do before Shavasana, now would be the time. Otherwise, let the body relax. So Shavasana is so important, as you guys know. Before you rush away from your practice and go back into that fragmented, unattached, small little tastes of concentration. Shavasana is that time that sets the pavement for the rest of the day. Of not rushing, of creating more time by slowing down, by creating safety, feeling comfortable, and rediscovering why you practice, what you showed up for today. And then again, as an experiment, I'd like you to see if you can count backwards from 10 without distraction or pulling of mind in different directions, 10 breaths. Inhaling through both nostrils. Exhaling. 10. 9. And continue on your own and just notice how long you can keep this up. Determined, but with a gentle encouragement. When you get to 0, just rest with gentle awareness. Committing to yourself wholly. The value that you hold inside. And then take a minute to just be completely at rest. When you're ready to return, or if time permits, you can stay a little longer. Of course, extend your Shavasana a little longer into meditation, otherwise rolling out to one side of your body. And then coming up. Thank you, girls, so much for being here this morning. Namaste.